Good morning. Let's continue with chapter 11, that is biotechnology principles and processes. Today we'll start with the topic processes of recombinant DNA technology. Recombinant DNA technology involves several steps in specific sequence such as isolation of DNA, fragmentation of DNA by restriction endonuclease, isolation of a desired DNA fragment, ligation of the DNA fragments, and after ligation, transferring the recombinant DNA into the host and culturing the host cells in a medium and on a large scale and extraction of the desired products. So we'll see how this process of recombinant DNA technology gets completed. Here we can see in this diagram how the DNA which is containing the gene of interest is entered into the plasmid and forms the recombinant DNA, and it is inserted further into the host and then the plant with the new trait that is being produced. So treat foreign DNA and plasmid with restriction enzyme and DNA ligase, introduce the recombinant plasmid into the cultured plant cells and regenerate the new plant from the cultured cells. This is how the process of recombinant DNA technology will be done. Now the first step is the isolation of the genetic material. Nucleic acid, we know that is the genetic material of all organisms without exception. Now in majority of the organisms this is deoxyribonucleic acid or DNA, and in order to cut the DNA with the restriction enzyme it needs to be in the pure form, free from other macromolecules, since the DNA is enclosed within the membrane. So we have to break the cell open to release DNA along with the other macromolecules such as RNA, proteins, polysaccharides and also lipids. So this can be achieved by treating the bacterial cells, plants or animal tissues with an enzymes known as lysozymes, that is for bacteria, cellulase for plant cells, chitinase, fungus. We know that genes are located on long molecules of DNA which are intertwined with proteins such as histones. So the RNA can be removed by treating with ribonuclease, whereas the proteins, they can be removed with the treatment of protease, and other molecules, they can be removed. Appropriate treatment and purified DNA ultimately precipitates out after the addition of the chilled ethanol. So this is one of your experiments also in the biology experiments. I'll be sending you the video for the same. Now this can be seen as collection of the fine threads in the suspension. So this is how first step, that is isolation of the DNA, how DNA is extracted from the plant material, that is done in the lab. So once we get this extract of DNA, what is further treatment that is done? Now the cutting of the DNA at the specific locations. Restriction enzyme digestions. We know that restriction enzyme digestions, they are performed by incubating purified DNA molecules with the restriction enzyme at the optimal conditions for that specific enzyme. Agarose gel electrophoresis is employed to check the progression of the restriction enzyme digestion. DNA is a negatively charged molecule, hence it moves towards the positive electrode, that is anode, that we have discussed during gel electrophoresis when we studied in detail. So DNA is negatively charged, so it moves towards the positive charge electrode, that is anode, and this process is repeated with the vector DNA also. Now the joining of the DNA involves several processes. After having cut the source DNA as well as the vector DNA with the specific restriction enzymes, the cutout gene of interest from the source DNA and the cut vector with the space and mixed with the ligase, that is added. So this results in the preparation of recombinant DNA. So here we can see how this process we have already studied in detail, how the restriction enzymes, they cut the DNA at the specific sites, and after that this target gene, that is to be added. So once we use vectors, plasmids as vectors, and then we put that specific gene here, and this is combined with the help of the ligase enzyme. Next step is the amplification of the gene of interest using PCR. That is, PCR stands for polymerase chain reaction. Now in this reaction, multiple copies of the gene or DNA of interest is synthesized in vitro. In vitro means under artificial conditions in the lab, using two sets of primers. Now what are primers? These are the small chemically synthesized oligonucleotides that are complementary to the regions of DNA. Now once these primers that are and the enzyme DNA polymerase. So the enzyme extends the primer along the nucleotides, providing the reaction and the genomic DNA as template. If the process of replication of DNA is repeated many times, the segments of DNA can be amplified to approximately billion times. That is nearly 1 billion copies they can be made. So such repeated amplifications is achieved by the use of thermostable DNA polymerase, which is isolated from a bacterium, Thermus aquaticus, which remains active during the high temperature induced denaturation of double-stranded DNA. Now the amplified fragment, if desired, can now be used to ligate with the vector for further cloning. So this is how PCR technique is completed. Now the next step is insertion of the recombinant DNA into the host cell or organism. Now there are several methods of introducing the ligated DNA into the recipient cell. The recipient cells, after making them competent to receive, take up DNA present in its surrounding. So if the competent DNA bearing gene for resistant to an antibiotic, for example ampicillin, is transferred into the E. coli, the host cells, they become transformed into ampicillin resistant cells. Now if we spread the transformed cells on the agar plates, now what will happen? Which contain ampicillin, only transformants will grow. And untransformed recipients, what will happen to them? They will die. So since due to ampicillin resistant gene, one is able to select a transformed cell in the presence of ampicillin. So ampicillin resistant gene in this case is called as a selectable marker. So this is how insertion of the recombinant DNA into the host cell is accomplished. Now obtaining the foreign gene product. When you insert a piece of alien DNA into the cloning vector, what will happen? And transfer it into a bacterial, plant or animal cell, the alien DNA gets multiplied. Now in almost all recombinant DNA technologies, the ultimate aim is to produce a desirable protein. So there is a need for the recombinant DNA to be expressed, and the foreign gene gets expressed under appropriate conditions, and the expression of the foreign genes in host cells involve understanding of many technical details. Now after having cloned the gene of interest and having optimized the conditions to induce the expression of the target protein, one has to consider producing it on a large scale. Now why there is a need for the large scale production? If any protein encoding gene is expression in a heterologous host, then it is called as a recombinant protein. Now the cells which are taking cloned genes of interest may be grown on a small scale in the laboratory, but the cultures may be used for extracting the desired protein and then purifying it and using different separation techniques. So the cells can also be multiplied in a continuous culture system where the used medium is drained out from the one side while fresh medium is added from the other to maintain the cells in their physiologically used active that is called as the log or exponential phase. So this type of culturing method produces a large biomass leading to a larger, higher yield of the desired proteins. So small volume cultures cannot use appreciable quantities of product, so produce in large quantities. The development of bioreactors where large volumes 100 to 1000 liters of culture can be processed was required. So bioreactors can be thought of as vessels in which raw materials, now this is the picture of the bioreactor, vessels in which raw materials, they are biologically converted into specific products. Includes individual enzymes using microbial, plant, animal or human cell. Now a bioreactor provides optimal conditions for achieving the desired products. So here you can see the different parts of a bioreactor. Here this is the agitative system, this is the thermal jacket, these are the sensor, probe, system monitor, here from which the effluent is taken out, submerged aerator for oxygen, reactor tank, air is bubbled, medium, feeding pump. So these are the various parts of the bioreactor. Now a bioreactor provides optimal conditions for achieving the desired product by providing optimum growth conditions like temperature, pH, substrate, salts, vitamins, oxygen, etc. So the commonly used bioreactors are of stirring type. A simple stirred bioreactor or a sparge stirred tank bioreactor, where the sterile air bubbles, they are sparge. So a stirred tank reactor is usually cylindrical with a curved base and facilitate the mixing of the reactor contents. So the stirrer facilitates even mixing and oxygen availability throughout the bioreactor, and air can be bubbled through the reactor also. You will see that the bioreactor has an agitator system, an oxygen delivery system and a foam control system also. So a temperature control system, pH control system and the sampling port, so that small volumes of the culture can be withdrawn periodically. Now the last topic of this chapter is the downstream processing. After completion of all the biosynthetic stage, the product has to be subjected to a series of processes before it is ready for marketing as a finished product. So the processes include separation and purification, which are collectively referred to as downstream processing. So the product has to be formulated with suitable preservatives. Such formulation has to undergo through clinical trials, as in the case of drugs. Now strict quality control testing for each product is also required. So the downstream processing and quality control testing vary from product to product. So here you can see all the steps of the downstream processing. Here intracellular products or the extracellular products, where cell disruption through mechanical, physical, chemical or enzymatic activity. Then removal of insolubles through centrifugation, flocculation, filtration or sedimentation. Then is isolation, absorption, evaporation, extraction, precipitation or membrane filtration. Purification through chromatography, precipitation or membrane filtration. Finishing by crystallization, lyophilization, drying or by sterilization, and then the final product is obtained. So this is how biotechnological principles and processes we have studied in this chapter in detail. Now next chapter will be starting with biotechnology part 2, where we'll be studying all the applications of biotechnology. Thank you.